Hello, welcome to class 15 of the ArchiCAD 23 online course. In this class, you're going to do cut and embankment operations on terrain. Open the file Orlando House class 15 start. It's the file used to begin the section 4 of the course. You can observe that stairs and railings were completed in this file because we see these tools in last section. And as you learned in previous classes, plan gardens can be made with slab tool, as we see here. But in the method we will learn in this class, it's better to use only mesh tool. Therefore, you can erase all grass made with slab tool. Now in Stories, go to Terrain and activate the layer, the existing terrain layer. Ctrl L to layer settings and open Arc3 Existing. You see the terrain we have modeled, but going to 3D window, you realize that the terrain is not displayed yet. And it happens because ArchiCAD has different view settings for each window. So here on 3D, I also need to turn on the layer. In Terrain Story, what I'm going to do is copy the existing terrain to side, Ctrl-Shift-D, to drag a copy, and change the layer of this element to Arc3 Site Cut. My intention is to use this mesh to represent the cut terrain, preserving the morphology of the existing terrain in the first mesh. So now I drag the cut mesh to original position. And I have two meshes. One is existing, other is the cut. I will turn off the layer of existing terrain. And on 3D, I do the same thing. Closing existing and keeping just the cut mesh in my view. When I pass the mouse over the mesh, I can see the layer information showing that this element is in Site Cut layer. Selecting this element, this information also appears on the info box. Go to Underground Floor. Click in Design, Solid Element Operations, and here I could select all elements, but we also have the option of selecting by tool, clicking on Slab tool and pressing Ctrl A. All slabs in this story are selected. Clicking on Wall tool and pressing Ctrl A. All walls are selected. And I can add elements to selection holding Shift key. Using the arrow selection, pressing Shift, I can add to my selection. I will put these elements as operators. Click Get Operator Elements. Now I go to Terrain, select the mesh, and put it as target element. Clicking Subtraction with Upward Extrusion, click Execute, and you can see on 3D, all elements above operator elements will be cut. Selecting the mesh and pressing F5, you can see it isolated. Pressing F5 again, all the model returns. You can see at the pull bottom that terrain is entering inside of it. And it has happened because the pull bottom slab is not on underground level and wasn't used as an operator element. So clicking in ground floor, select slab 2, Ctrl A to select all slabs, get operator elements, and on 3D, select the mesh and get target elements. I'll click execute. Now you see you can check this cut on 3D, pressing F5 and selecting the mesh. You can see there's something here that needs to be adjusted on the cut, and pressing F5 again, we come back. So we can correct this situation, checking these elements, maybe adjusting the wall thickness a little bit. We can see some difference. It's a millimetric situation, so just 2 millimeters in the thickness, and we can solve it on our cut. Now let's make the embankment. Go to Terrain Story, Ctrl L to access layer settings, and I will turn off cut layer and turn on existing layer again. I will drag a copy of this existing terrain and place the copy, Ctrl-Shift-D, and I will place this copy on Arc3 site embankment. Once more, I drag to original position. Now turn off existing layer. And keep just the embankment layer that will be activated now. In 3D, do the same thing and let just the embankment turn it on. The first thing I'll do is to subtract the embankment volume on underground level. Go to Terrain, turn on Tracing Reference, above Current Story, to see underground story as reference. Select the mesh and clicking on a node, choose the option Subtract from Polygon. Using polygonal geometry method here, do the polygon picking external side of the retaining wall. Here in this curved part, it's easier to click on Start and End Point, and after, curve the edge. So I will click here, external side. Finalize the polygon. Now, it's just to click on the edge and choose Curvy Edge. Go to 3D and pressing F5, I can see it as I have modeled. Now, what I'm going to do is divide the mesh in some parts because I have plane areas, sloped areas, and this division will help us to edit the mesh. Go to Terrain, click with mouse right button on Underground Floor. I'll put Show as Trace Reference. Now I can see the ground floor as reference. Select the mesh, and we have this tool, split the X icon. I will draw a line here to indicate the division, and doesn't matter how long is the line. I will do the line. The eye appears, click to finish. You can see the elements divided. And now I'm going to use the split command at the edge of this deck. Split, I do a click. The eye appears, I can select, and the division is done. Place DWG reference from underground and do the division at the limit of the deck. So first, we're gonna edit the frontal grass. I'll press F5 to back to return all the model. So here, the frontal grass, we're gonna elevate points, but you can observe that this mesh has many points on the edges. So before elevate the points, we need to simplify the polygon. Going to Terrain Story, I will erase this mesh. And I can use eyedropper to copy parameters from the mesh. I'll put ground floor as reference. And use polygonal geometry method to make the grass. On the other side, do the same thing. Erase the mesh and create a new polygon to do the grass. In 3D, we have the freedom to adjust it clicking on nodes. And in the floating palette, I'll choose Elevate Mesh Point. And I can elevate using concrete structure as precision points. The same thing I will do on the other side. Now we're going to do this grassed plain area, and to do it, we'll elevate our points to the same level. So, come here to this outer surface area, selecting the concrete slab. I see the level to home story is -10, and to project 0 is 160. Therefore, I will elevate all mesh points to 160 level. Go to Terrain. I can even turn off the reference to see it better. So I will click on each curve, click in the middle of the curve, elevate mesh point. I'll put project 0 as reference level, type 160 and mark apply to all because I want all points of this curve on 160 level. OK, and now I will repeat this procedure to all curves. After clicking a point at the edge of the mesh, we still have this curve. Now clicking a point at the edge of the mesh. Here we need to change to project 0 again. Mark apply to all, 160. In 3D, you see the elevated points, but also it is mixing with concrete slabs. You see the grass inside the pool. So again, we'll execute solid element operations to cut. On ground floor, I'll press Ctrl A to select all elements in the story, get operator elements. In 3D, I will select the mesh and put as target. Subtraction with upward extrusion, execute, pressing F5. You can see the embankment volume after the cut. F5 again to return to full model. There is a detail at the side that I want this grass at the same level that my deck is, and now it is 10 centimeters below. Go to Terrain, put ground floor as reference, and using split, I will divide the mesh here. I will select the points and elevate the points to 170. Do the same to the edges. 170. In 3D window, you see that it is correct, but going to ground floor, the grass is not being displayed. And it happens because the meshes belong to terrain story. In terrain, I will select the elements. Enter on settings dialog. I'll change home story, but they need to keep the same level to project 0, that is -3. I'll press Ctrl C to copy this information. Change home story to ground floor. It was elevated to 170, but I'll keep the level -3. In floor plan, they got out from terrain and went to ground floor. I can check on 3D. Now I'm going to do the back part, this part near this wood deck. Here I will have a plain grass area, select the deck and check the level, which is minus 125. So I will elevate mesh points to 130, 5 centimeters below. Go into terrain. First I'll change home story. This element here that I have put on ground floor, it needs to be on underground, but I'll keep here -3 to project 0. So now it belongs to underground floor. And in this case, I'll change show on stories to home and 1 story up, so I can see it on underground floor and also on ground floor. I will do this plan area, click on curve, elevate mesh points, I'll put minus 130. Do the same thing on edges. You can check on 3D, the grass is plan. Now I'll make the sloped grass in this area, and it has some variations according to concrete path, as we can observe on images. In the beginning we have a smooth slope and after a stronger slope. In underground, I'll place DWG reference from ground floor, where we have the view of this concrete stair as reference. I'll make a split beside the pool. I'll select the mesh, click on split. After order division, align with the stair. And now I'll make 2 diagonals matching stair sides. And here you see that polygons have many points to be elevated, so it's better to create new meshes and use this division only as reference to model. I'll start with this area on pool area, erase, copy parameters with eyedropper, and make a new mesh. I use the rectangular option. The second is beside, erase the model, the mesh and model again. Here we had some problem. I'll copy parameters again, make a copy. I'll do the same here. I'll choose now the polygonal option. here at the stair area, I'll create a polygon. And last, the polygon here. I can check on 3D, and starting with this rectangular mesh, elevate the points. Next polygon, use the nodes to get precision points. After, in this polygon here, I will elevate using nodes again. Here I can use, here in the middle, I can use intersection point with the other mesh. In the middle, I don't have a reference of height yet, so I'll put in the same level of this wood deck. Here in the end, I'll match this plane area. After we have the intermediate polygon, here I'll create the stair landing. So this point will be at the same level. We have this difference. And now I have to finish here the other points. And the last polygon, elevate the points. Now we need to make adjustments on this mesh beside the pool. In floor plan, select the mesh, click on the add, and in the floating palette, you'll select insert new node. I'll place a point here, other here. Here I use snap guide in this point, and here. So we have 4 points. In 3D, I can elevate and create a sort of grass landing to do the stair. And because of this difference between mesh slopes, I also need to create points in this mesh below the pool. We have this difference. So go into floor plan. I will insert new node here. And on 3D, I can elevate these points. Now we have the correct elevation. The mesh is entering in the pool. So I will execute solid element operations. Select the pool bottom, the walls. I'll put as operator elements. Select the mesh. Select this mesh here. I have other meshes in the middle of the pool that I need to correct after. So here I'll put as a subtraction with upward extrusion and execute. It's not accepting, saying that it's not a valid element. So probably I did something wrong. I'll do again. I'll get operator elements. Here I'll choose target, execute. Okay, we need to do the same thing here. So we have this mesh. I'll select below. I'll put as target and go into ground floor. I'll select all elements. And I'll not select only the mesh. Get operator, subtraction with upward extrusion. And on 3D, you can see that it's correct now. My swimming pool. Now that I have modeled all embankment soil, I will turn on the layer of existing terrain. In 3D, you see this terrain natural profile. Selecting the existing terrain, I will put it as operator. And to select all embankment meshes, we have many ways of doing it, but I will take it in advantage to show a good tool. Up here, there is Find and Select. I'll click here. Here I can apply filters to select specific elements. I will say that element type is Mesh. Click on Add to add a new parameter. I'll put Model View, Layer. I'll click Add, and layer is Arc3 Site Embankment. Clicking on plus, he selects all meshes inside embankment layer. I can close it and put these elements as target, but now I'll choose subtraction with downward extrusion because I want to cut the volume below existing profile. Click Execute. The operation is done. And pressing F5, I can see exactly the embankment volume in my project. Now, I want to know how much earth volume I have in this embankment. Go to Window, Palettes, Element Information. Opening this window, I can close Solid Element Operations. There are some information like size, area. I turn off all buttons and keep just the last, volume. And here you expand this window. Selecting these meshes, we have the volume of each mesh displayed here. I can add the values and we get something about 770 cubic meters. of embankment volume. Now I need to know the cut volume. I'll press F5 to return to full model. I'll select the existing terrain. And we have 3,675 cubic meters. Now I'll close existing terrain layer and open cut layer. Selecting the cut mesh, we have here the exact layer. We have 3,154 cubic meters. Therefore, making the subtraction from existing to cut, we have 521 cubic meters. And to finish, I can do the count of earth movement, subtracting embankment volume by cut volume. We have to add 249 cubic meters of earth in the house's work. Considering trucks capable to transport 8 cubic meters, divide 249 by 8, equal to 32 trucks. Okay, to proceed the project, I'll keep the embankment and cut layers open. An existing layer will be closed. Okay, hope you have enjoyed this class. Wait for you on next classes. Bye bye.